Self-Love is the New Sexy, the podcast devoted to helping you overcome life's most painful and stubborn challenges so you can feel great, have more energy, and live stress-free every day. To reach your full potential, simply work with the powerful spiritual principles that are readily accessible to everyone. It's easier than you think, and on today's show, W. Mark Watts is going to show you how starting with self-love is the key to joyously and harmoniously making that happen.
Hey everybody, this is W. Mark Watts. Welcome and thank you for hanging out with me for another episode of Self-Love is the New Sexy. And today's episode is about, or entitled I should say, in order to win, you have to be willing to lose. In order to win, be willing to lose. Now, if you're like me, losing is not very appetizing. I mean, no one likes to lose, right? And you know, we adopt this mentality that losing is a bad thing and that there's nothing good comes from losing. Well, I would like to slightly adjust that thought process and say that, you know, there is no winning without losing. I mean, you are going to take some losses on this journey, but the flip side of it, and the flip side of taking those losses is that you gain so much knowledge, you do things that maybe you never thought you had the courage to do, and all of that, when you put that all together, it elevates you to the next level. So, you know, there have been many examples in my life where I've taken losses, and there have also been many examples in my life where I've won. And I think they both go hand in hand because you prove something to yourself along the way, just as I've proven things to myself along the way, along my journey. You know, I can remember as far back as, 8 years old, picking up that little round orange basketball thing, not even knowing much about it at all. But I knew the first time I stepped on the court, the pavement court in my elementary school, and shot that ball toward the hoop or start dribbling, that there was something magical about it. Now, I absolutely sucked, of course, right? Because I'd never even picked up a basketball before. Didn't know really what to do with it. But then next thing you know, I'm starting a team in my community with my friends, none of us who had played organized basketball before, and we all were horrible. I mean, that first year, that first half of that season, we got beat by everybody. But we stuck with it. We kept practicing. And by the end of that year, we had gotten better so that we had actually started winning basketball games. So, yeah, in the beginning, I took a loss. I felt bad. I didn't know what to do. I was confused. I was frustrated at losing because that's where, you learn that when you lose, it's a bad thing. People feel bad. You're not supposed to lose. But we kept moving forward. We kept practicing, and we got better. I remember my first girlfriend in high school, going out there on that limb, and, it worked for a while. Ultimately, she ended up leaving me for someone else when she went off to college. And so, again, I took a loss. However, throughout that relationship, though, I learned some key things about dating and how to talk to a girl's family and getting along with her siblings and just how to start building a relationship with someone. So even though the end result may have not have been the way I wanted it to be, that journey, the time that we spent together was valuable because I learned so much about it. I remember the first time I started, or actually not the first time I started a business of my own, but I remember this particular instance when I started a cleaning service, a business cleaning service after hours, where I would go in and clean office buildings, as my primary source of income. And again, there were so many beautiful things that I learned about it. However, it was super tough. I've never worked so hard in my life. One of the biggest challenges when you have a cleaning service, of course, is you're going to have to hire help. And that was one of my biggest challenges is finding, hiring, and maintaining relationships with employees or people who would work with you consistently, because let's face it, it's not a beautiful, glamorous job. And so you're not, it's going to be difficult to find really good, dependable people who are going to stay around for a while to help you build that business, and so I did learn that, number one, I could run my own business. I could be successful at it. I did it for just about 2 years, a little over 2 years. And I also understood the challenges. And then I ultimately ended up having to sell that business or get bought out of it because my wife was pregnant. I was married at the time. She was pregnant with our son, who is my 19-year-old wonderful kid, BJ now. And so I made a conscious decision. I said, hey, this thing is a lot more difficult. It takes a lot of my time. I'm about to have a kid, my first and only child. And so I want to be there. I want to have more time with my son. So I sold out of it. So it didn't end up the way I had projected. I thought I would be in that business for a long time and it would be a profitable business. Didn't end up that way. But I learned that, hey, I do love working for myself. I can be successful at it. And now I know that I don't necessarily want the type of business where I'm doing physical labor all the time. I'd like a business where I'm using my mind, where I'm able to be at one location, where I'm able to use my hands, on the computer. That type of business is what I wanted. And so that really started the wheel spinning and getting me in the mindset, starting to prepare me for what I do now. And so again, I took that loss in terms of the business not lasting and being as profitable, and it was so physically taxing, the types of work and the hours that I was spending in the business. So from that standpoint, it was a loss. But on the flip side of it, there was so much that I learned and gained about having clients, meeting with clients, the quality of your work, working and hiring people to work with you, and scheduling and so forth and so on. That experience was so valuable. And so I've developed, and something that I really enjoy about my personality is I enjoy the challenge. I'm willing to take on that challenge. I'm willing to take a loss. And, one of the biggest things most recently would be the fact that, several years back, I think back in, 2010? Yeah, 2010, I packed up, left my good job in Atlanta, Georgia, and moved up to Detroit, Michigan. I had been in a relationship for about 5 years at that point. She was in Detroit. And so we decided that we wanted to see where this thing could go. So it was easier for me to pack up and move from my location to go there as opposed to her packing up her two kids and moving down south. So I, took that risk. I took the brunt of everything. I packed up, moved up, and was there for 7+ years. Now that relationship ended. She decided to go a different direction. And, even though we were talking, we had initially started talking about getting married, but she changed and that relationship ended. So again, I took a big L, and it definitely didn't work out the way I had thought or had hoped. We always have plans, but, grandma says God laughs when you make plans, right? That didn't work out. So I took a huge L. However, there were 12 years of experiences that really taught me so much about who I am and how to maneuver and how to bounce back, when things don't go your way in a big way, and giving your all, because everything that I do, I give 100%. I get into it so that I have no excuses. I listened to Michael Jordan talk about, he can't accept not trying. And then in not trying, you have to be willing to give it your all. And you have to understand that this thing might not work out the way that you thought it would. And you have to be okay with that, because it's not about necessarily winning and losing. It's about the journey. I read something the other day that stated the journey is the gift. Say that again. The journey is the gift. We often get caught up in winning and losing, good and bad. They didn't do that or they did do that. I did that or I didn't do that. But it's the journey. The journey is the beauty. So I'm going to close or end up here in asking you, inviting you to look at your life and places and things that you thought or you labeled losses. You know, moving forward, we cannot let those things hinder us. They're all part of this beautiful journey. And so that next thing that you are thinking about taking on, but you feel like, oh man, I don't want to do it because I don't want to risk it because I might lose. I want you to remember that it's all about the journey as opposed to wins and losses. Now, there's some preparation and there's some planning and there's some thought that needs to go into the things that you do. So don't discount that part of the journey. However, I want you to be more enthralled in making that experience the best that it possibly can, regardless of the outcome. You know, I'll give you one more example of something that is top of mind for me right now, and then I'll close out. But another thing that, you know, I started to take on my own investing, responsibilities, financial investing responsibilities. And, you know, I know very little, or I knew very little about it. You know, I'd heard little things and, you know, I'd done a little bit of research, but several years back, I just really became interested in it and decided, you know, why would I pay someone else to do what I can do? And I think that I can do a better job of it. And so I started to dig my heels in, and that's led me to having a huge interest in day trading, and which I've been doing. Now, flip side of that is I'm in a world now that I know absolutely nothing about. I have no training, no formal training for it. I've self-taught. I'm taking classes, and I have mentors, which means in the financial markets, you can take a huge loss. And yes, I have taken losses. I have lost money in the market. However, I'm getting better. I'm learning so much. And I know that this journey is going to take me to a place that I've never been before. And that's what I like to do. I'm all about adventure and the journey and giving it a try and giving 100%. And so I want to invite you to do the same thing. When that next thing comes up for you, or when that thing turns south and you don't think, you know, you think the world's coming to an end, that just is impetus to start a new chapter, which brings me to where I'm at that place now when I got that feeling. I always get these feelings when it's time for me to try something new. And so I'm getting that feeling right now in what I do during the day, that it's time to relinquish that and really move full-time into trading, full-time into coaching, and those core things that I really love doing each and every day. So no definite plans yet, but I know it's coming because I can feel it. I feel that energy, and I'm building myself up to really take that leap of faith, take that next step, and really step out there and see what that particular journey holds for me. So I invite you to look forward to those things. Listen to your spirit and forget about losing. Understand that's always can be a reality. However, regardless of if that happens or not, focus on the journey. Focus on giving it your all. And when you do that, you never lose. You always win. All right. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. I love you all so very much. Take care of yourself during these days and times. Be mindful of what's going on around you. Be willing to take the L. Be willing to lose so that you can have that full experience of living all out. Talk to you all again soon. Bye now.
You've been listening to Self-Love is the New Sexy with W. Mark Watts. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to tell a friend. Also, make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to our show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, or wherever you listen to podcasts.